Welcome to AC 24/7. I'm Aaron Dean. Well, the Supreme Court is allowing the Louisiana congressional map to be redrawn, this time to add another black majority district. Although the justices did not hear the case directly, the High Court lifted its hold on a lower court's order to redraw the map. Last year, Louisiana state officials were sued over the congressional map, which made only 1 out of 6 districts majority black, despite Louisiana's population being 33% black. Earlier this month, the Supreme Court ruled Alabama had to redraw its congressional map to include another majority minority district. The Supreme Court is entering its final week of the term. All eyes are on the justices, who are set to release decisions on a total of 10 cases. Those include an affirmative action case where the court is considering whether schools can continue to take race into consideration in the admissions process. Another case looks at whether businesses can deny services to LGBTQ customers. The justices are also looking at election laws and could give state lawmakers unchecked power over federal elections. And then the long-awaited decision of President Joe Biden's student loan debt forgiveness program. The Department of Health and Human Services kicked off its 2023 Pride Summit this week in Washington, D.C. The HHS secretary affirmed the Biden administration's commitment to the LGBTQ+ community. He mentioned that the work the HHS is doing to expand access to gender-affirming care and other health care services. Many states have passed laws limiting or forbidding such care for minors. And the trial of the admitted Club Q nightclub shooter is moving into the sentencing phase. Anderson Lee Aldridge has pled guilty to 51 murder and attempted murder charges. 5 people died and 19 others were hurt in the November shooting in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Anderson is pleading no contest to bias-motivated crimes at the LGBTQ club. The 23-year-old also is admitting to the shooting. The plea deal reportedly calls for 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. 3 San Antonio police officers are charged with murder in the shooting death of a woman who the police chief says was experiencing a mental health crisis. Investigators say that 46-year-old Melissa Perez refused to come out of her apartment. She was suspected of cutting wires to a fire alarm, which is a felony. She also swung a hammer at the responding officers, but the police chief says the officers unreasonably put themselves into a situation where they used deadly force. At one point, an officer is heard saying, quote, "You're going to get shot," end quote. The chief says that their actions were not consistent with the department's policy and training. All 3 are suspended without pay and arrested on murder charges. The U.S. Coast Guard has opened an investigation into the Titan submersible implosion that killed 5. Reporting from Newfoundland, here's the Advocate Channel's Gloria Pazmino.
Now, the Marine Board of Investigation is the highest level of investigation that the U.S. Coast Guard can conduct regarding any kind of maritime incident. And what it will allow is for the Coast Guard to leverage all of its resources, including working with international partners. Now, this is a multi-step process, and right now they are in the first phase, which is to gather evidence. They've had the Odysseus 6000 out at the bottom of the ocean looking for pieces of the vessel, looking to recover more pieces of evidence. Once that's completed, they will hold a public hearing, collect more testimony and more evidence, and then they will continue this investigation. I want you to listen from public officials talking about what's next in the process.
During the course of the MBI, the board will first and primarily work to determine the cause of this marine casualty and the 5 associated deaths. The MBI, however, is also responsible for accountability aspects of the incident, and it can make recommendations to the proper authorities to pursue civil or criminal sanctions as necessary.
Now, any kind of subsequent enforcement will be done under a separate investigation. And one last important point is that the Marine Board of Investigation is working with the UK, the US, and France, and that reflects the nationalities of the 5 people who were on board of the Titan. So you see this multinational effort to try and bring some closure to these families. In fact, the Rear Admiral of the Coast Guard said that he had visited St. John's, right where we are, to meet with the family members who returned here on Saturday. Now, when the investigation is completed, they will issue a report and make recommendations. The point here is not just to understand what happened, but also to ensure that safety protocols are improved so that these submersible expeditions can be done safely. Reporting from Newfoundland, Gloria Pasmino.
AAA is forecasting blockbuster travel going into Independence Day, with a record-breaking 50.7 million Americans projected to hit the road. The Advocate Channel's Ivan Rodriguez breaks down the data and has some tips on how you can weather this travel storm.
Independence Day is just around the corner, and the travel forecast is set to be hot.
AAA is predicting that nearly 51 million Americans will travel for the 4th of July weekend, and that's an all-time record for us.
AAA's blockbuster forecast predicts that of those 50.7 million travelers who will venture more than 50 miles from home, more than 40 million will go by car.
Friday is going to be the worst day for driving because everyone's going to be on the road at that time. So you can leave Thursday night or Saturday morning. That would be ideal.
And with gas prices holding steady, spokesperson Andrew Gross doesn't anticipate much pain at the pump.
As oil prices have dropped, the price at the pump has dropped too. So whereas last year people may have been paying $4.80 to $5 a gallon, now they're going to be paying $3.50 or less in most places.
But the same can't be said for the record 4.2 million flyers set to take off this weekend. Airfare is up as much as 50% over last year. To avoid the inevitable trouble in the terminal, Gross says to travel early, travel light, and stay informed.
Get to the airport on time, have the airlines app on your phone so you can check and see if there are any gate changes.
And if you've got more travel plans ahead, be prepared. This season isn't cooling down.
I think this is a real scene setter for what we're going to see for the rest of summer. If the 4th of July is really packed, then probably the rest of summer travel is really going to be robust.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
Well, heads up, if you're flying soon, you could be facing some delays. That's because airlines have until July 1st to update their equipment. This week, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg warned that air travel could face disruptions ahead of the deadline for airlines to retrofit equipment. The updates are to avoid potential interference from 5G wireless signals. Aircrafts that haven't gone through the necessary equipment changes won't be cleared to land in certain weather conditions when visibility is low starting July 1st. That's when U.S. wireless companies plan to boost their 5G service to higher power levels. A superhero movie led the weekend box office, but not the same one as last weekend. Well, here's a look at the early estimates for the top 5 films in theaters.
Stand down.
Transformers: Rise of the Beast landed in 5th place with $11.6 million for a domestic total of $123 million. Jennifer Lawrence in No Hard Feelings debuted in 4th place, taking in $15.1 million. In 3rd, The Flash fell off a cliff with second weekend grosses of $15.3 million, a 72% drop from its debut.
Yo, Ember. Yo, Claude, can't talk, in a hurry.
Element took 2nd place for the 2nd straight weekend, earning $18.5 million.
What's a guy got to do to join this spider team?
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse swung back into the top spot, earning $19.3 million for a domestic total of $317 million. Well, a new museum dedicated to African American history is opening up in Charleston, South Carolina. That's where nearly half of the enslaved population entered America. The museum explores how African American labor shaped the Carolinas, the nation, and the world. The museum says its existence is an invitation to dialogue and discovery. And thank you so much for watching AC 24/7. For more, you can go to theadvocatechannel.com and be sure to subscribe on the Advocate Channel YouTube page. For AC 24/7, I'm Aaron Zine.